I'm going to try steaming a test piece of oak in the jig I made earlier before I actually try to steam the pieces that I actually want on the sled. This piece is roughly 1 by 1, which is the same dimensions as the runner. So I'm going to load up the tea kettle with water and let it boil for about 15 minutes, and then we'll see what we got. Well, it's 6:30 at night, and I finally got the kettle boiling, and I'm going to time it for, let's say, a half an hour, and then I'm going to try the bend. I hope everything goes well. Well, it's really steaming now. It's almost 10 minutes into the bend, or the steaming process. Still keeping the fingers crossed. Well, it's been about 15 minutes, and I noticed that there seems to be boiling water coming out of the wood itself, because you can see it bubbling. Now, I don't know if the porousness of the oak is, because it's not white oak, if the porousness is just absorbing water through capillary action and I see bubbles coming out, or if it's actually water bubbling off the wood. So I'm not sure if it's ready yet. It's been 15 minutes. I'm going to leave it, maybe another 5 to 10 minutes just to make sure. I hope the steam doesn't get to the drywall on the ceiling. Ceilings are only 8 feet. Well, okay, it's time to try the bend. I hope we're successful. I hope we're successful. got that steaming hot. Oh. The wood seems to be splitting. I'm going to try on the exterior. Nothing seems to be going right. The clamps aren't going in as easily as they should. It's taking way too much time to get the bend started. I need more preparation for the real bend. this again. Sometimes things just work against you. As you can see, I'm going to have to make some modifications to the bending jig, because instead of bending it on the inner of the diameter, I'm going to have to bend it on the outer of the diameter. So since my my runner is made a certain way, these are the modifications I have to make to the circular piece of the jig. And I'm going to show you what the runner looks like in a sectional view. Well, let's give it another try. Test bend number 2. Well, that wasn't easy. You need two people to bend that properly. Once it comes out of the steamer, you need somebody to tighten down the clamp right away. But that's how I'm going to proceed with it. I'm going to modify the jig, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. This will be a success. This will be the jig modifications to make that runner bend for the cutter sled. As you can see, number 1 and 2 will be an outer piece that I'm going to have to make in 2 sections to actually hold the runner. I have to admit defeat today. I tried to bend the runners with the steel pipe. I steamed the material, and once I started the bend, you have very little time to actually make it around your bending radius before the wood gets dry, because it's so hot that the steam comes out of the wood. As soon as the water gets out of the wood, this is what happened. The wood split, and this is oak. So for today, the sled beat me for today. Well, I'm here for my 3rd or 4th try to rebend a runner out of oak, and I've gotten some new clamps and made some modifications to the bending jig. I hope this time will be, I'd like to say 3rd time's a charm, but this is probably my 4th attempt. So I'm just going to insert this piece of oak, which is 1 by 1 by 1, into my steamer. The bend radius should be around 29 inches in diameter, which is 14.5 radius, or radius. The length of the circumference should be around 44 inches. I've made a previous attempt at bending a runner, but there's a little crack that showed up in the runner. It might be taken out by me putting a 15-degree angle on the runner, which is what was on the previous sled. This here is my first attempt at bending a runner. It came up close to 29 inches. I'll have to remeasure that from this area to this area to see what the diameter is of that bend. This will contain a steel runner underneath. It's made out of hot rolled steel, I may lay down a bead of weld along the length of the runner to make it more durable. The runner runs up to here, and then there's another piece of metal that is bent around this contour and then fastened to the, I'd like to say carriage. Well, it's the carriage, yes. There's the foundation, the legs, or the suspension, which the legs are fastened to this with mortise joints and held there together with steel round rod, which is bent and fastened to every leg. And then there's a running board along the suspension, which has a 24-inch roughly long piece of steel on top of the running board, or the step side. And there will be another bend coming up here fastened to the side of this. But so far I'm sort of happy with this bend. The crack which I was referring to happened here, but once I've taken out a 15-degree angle, that crack might be gone. And the reason is, when you're bending wood, some people use a strap on the exterior radius of the bend, and they actually somehow, when the wood is straight, fasten it to the strip. So when you bend the strip, all the compression happens on the inside. There's no stretching of the wood on the outside. But when you don't use that metal strip, what happens is the bend goes along the middle, the inside compresses, and the exterior stretches. Well, when you stretch a piece of wood, you're going to get a crack. But if you have that metal strip going around here, everything happens in compression on the inside, which eliminates the chance of cracking. And hopefully with this attempt I will correct this problem. But this problem in this case might not be a problem. I have to first try to cut out that 15 degrees, because the runner's not perpendicular this way. It's 15 degrees off, and that will be the exterior of the sled, and this is fastened to the carriage, like I said. As you can see, this is the theory behind the wood bending strip, okay? There you have the wood to bend, which is between the two end blocks, and the end blocks are fixed to a metal strip which is flexible. Stainless steel would be best, or spring steel. It should be as wide as the wood is, okay? And this what happens when you're using the jig itself. All the stresses happen on the inside of the bend, not on the outside. So that does not go through any compression or stretching. Now if you don't have the metal strip, as you can see here, the center of the piece of wood is neutral. There's no stretching, no forces, but the inside is compression and the outside is stretch. And when you stretch a piece of wood, it's not elastic, it'll split. So this is why with this type of jig, especially when you get into wider material, little strips, it's not as as predominant, but if you have wider, like an inch and a quarter strips that you're going to bend, you're going to get splits if you don't use a bending jig. And I'm just on the border of an inch, so I'm going to use a strip of metal to help me make that bend quickly, but I don't have end blocks. I'm hoping that the compression of the clamps will be enough to reduce some of the stresses on the exterior radius during the bend. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Less than 45 seconds to get your piece of wood from the steamer to the bending jig. Like I said, I used that metal strip going around, and I have not seen a crack in the outer radius of this bend at all, so it is a success. Woohoo!